So I asked for a current list of bodybuilding trends that are hot now, but may not stand the test of time.
Oh, huh.
And it gave you
And
all
and
of the
it
trends.
said, this is a list of things that are currently hot, but may fizzle out like many other trends have. I love how it talks. And it said, and the number one thing is optimal obsession.
Huh. Wow.
And it said chasing perfection with biomechanics, the length of the rep, resistance profiles, altering machines, machine-only training, strange exercises that isolate single muscles out of complex muscle groups,
yeah.
all are already showing signs of fading. And it says why they might fade. And it says, all of this is based on theory, not enough brute force. Many forget that progressive overload is still driven by maximum mental effort and high physical drive. Overanalysis will lose steam once people hit plateaus despite being optimal. Hey everybody, welcome to It's Just Bodybuilding. I'm Big Ron Partlow. Of course, I'm here with Dusty Hanshaw and the producer, Scott McNally. Remember, like, share, subscribe, comment, and
Ring the bell.
yes. Remember, IamMutant.com. Go to IamMutant.com. Use Dusty or Big Ron, whichever one of us is less annoying to you. Use our code.
I'm never gonna.
You can try Scott. You can try Scott. I can't promise anything.
It doesn't do anything. And you'll get a discount, and we keep our jobs.
I like that
least
deal.
an end
It's a good deal.
Yeah.
Win-win. Win-win. So yes, that's the deal. IamMute.com. Get your all in, get your ISO surge, and everyone should get on the gear. So get yourself some gear. What's your favorite flavor of gear, Dusty?
I like the bomb pop one. I don't know what rocket pop.
The Rocket Pop.
I like
Bomb
that.
Pop.
I like that.
Don't say that on a plane.
By its ghetto name. But yeah. Yes, it reminds me of the listeners won't understand this, but there used to be a truck that drove around called an ice cream truck.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Little song. You get your rocket pop off there. Oh, way more expensive than out of your freezer, but I swear they taste better, just like shitty coffee from Starbucks.
Yeah. Exactly how it works.
Day, you're on your rollerblades. You're playing hockey in the street. Oh wait, it's time for a break. Yeah. Mm-hmm. We also had this thing back in the day that we used to pay with called cash. But anyways.
No.
Oh, yeah. Weird. But yeah, that's that. Yeah, you need the rocket pop. Do you like that? What do you like?
Rocket Pop's good. I tend to go with like the fruit punchy flavors. I'm kind of like that. And then of course I like iced tea. I like the iced tea. I'm a very big fan of iced tea. You know what I mean? So I tend to do that type of stuff. I avoid blue raspberry. I know that's like super popular flavor that everyone makes because it's like super popular. It's like the biggest seller. Like most brands will tell you that that's the number one seller, but I'm not a big fan. Dusty has issues with it. Dusty's like,
yes, I have issues with it. Yeah, because it's the most acidic option. It's the most acidic flavor they make.
Yeah, technically.
Technically,
there's
make
more
blue
acid
raspberry. Yeah, so and then on the BCAAs, for those who are smart enough to still use those intra, our grape. I've sold out on the rest. I don't even get the other ones. I'm a grape guy. Oh, I see what you're on my flavor with that. Well, that's the peach. I can already see it.
Sour peach, the Mind
delicious.
FK. Yeah, it was good. You know what? Yes. I only ever had like a couple samples of this stuff, and I loved it. And I actually tried to order some off the Mutant site, and I was like, "Oh, I'm so excited! I'm going to get it." And then like a week later, I got my money returned to me, and they're like, "Oh, we're sorry, we're out of that flavor." So I never really tried it. And then I got some at the Arnold. And I've been using it basically nonstop since. Like there has not been a day that's gone by. I've done I could probably if there was like a chart on how much work I've done, it's probably gone up like 20% across the board since the beginning of March. You know what I mean?
It's good.
Turns out that there is a little more than training for that.
Yeah.
It's not available in Canada, but they're allowed to make it here and warehouse it here and ship it out of the country. But they're not allowed to sell it.
That's how you know it's good, though. That's how you know it's good.
Because the Canadian government has a stack of paperwork that they just They just haven't gotten to.
We'll get to it, eh?
So, yeah, we'll get to it, eh? Maybe. They're going to somehow blame Trump.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's his fault, for sure.
But I go down to the warehouse to visit George, and I steal it.
There you go.
So
that
it's
means
not
there's no
their
sale
fault.
that took place. It's legal.
Yeah, and it's not their fault that but I'm just a thief. So I go in the back to the warehouse, say to the guys, "Hey, how's shipping going?" And then I steal it. So
Smart.
I managed to get my hands on it without Mutant having anything to do with the transaction.
I want to know one thing from each of us that we think is holding people back from being the best bodybuilder.
Right. Yes.
Number 1, genetics.
Well,
Number 2, gear.
Genetics.
A lot more gear. Yeah. Number 2, genetics. It's not the gear.
Money,
all the gear.
drugs. Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Fire.
Okay. I think one thing that is holding people back is they're crowding their brain with too much noise. They're trying to build a house by starting with the doorknobs.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's something. And like you have to lay a foundation to build a house. You have to have a frame to build a car. You have to, you know what I mean? And so I see people skipping that step to kind of copy what they see on Instagram. Like they'll see a 250-pound bodybuilder who's got a bad shoulder talking about an advanced move that he's doing. And it's like, first, that kid's got to learn how to press 100-pound dumbbells over his head.
Yeah.
And the value of that is massive. And also, I had a very high-level judge say to me this weekend, he goes, you know what I notice? None of these young guys have big forearms.
Huh.
And I went, oh. And he goes, yeah, they're not lifting weights.
Huh.
None of them are lifting weights. They all have small forearms. And I thought that was funny. And that's just kind of like a symptom of not laying the foundation to the house. And you think if he doesn't have big forearms, what else on him isn't getting hit from all the fancy shit they're doing? And I'm not bagging on the fancy shit. I do some fancy shit because I'm kind of busted up. I do wrist cuff cable side laterals laying back because they actually feel great the way we do them. But I didn't do them for the first 15 years I trained, 20 years I trained. And I have like elbow issues and a little bit of chronic tennis elbow. So holding dumbbells sometimes bothers me when I do side laterals. And I mean, I used to do side laterals with like the 65-pound dumbbells, which doesn't happen anymore. But so I'm just saying, like, you got to move some iron. And I'm not trying to sound old school or anything like that, but it is just the fact, without putting a bar on your back, there's a lot of shit down through your core and through your back and into your hips and down through right to the floor that isn't getting hit the way some of these guys are training. And so when a really high level judge who's a pro judge says to you that he thinks the new crop of young guys he's seeing is like great physique, but they all have small forearms. And some of them are even training their forearms. So that tells you that that's not enough. That's not the same as what we were doing. You know what I mean? Grip and rip and like grabbing. I remember, grabbing 120s and kicking them up and rowing and trying not to use my straps until the last heavy set and like stuff like that. So, I think people are just they're thinking about the doorknobs instead of the concrete floor. And build yourself a floor. I hate to fucking rant on this stuff, but I benched 3 plates in grade 12 and I squatted 4 plates in grade 12 drug free. And I'm not genetically gifted. I'm too tall to be a bodybuilder. My arms are too long. I wasn't a phenom. People thought I was good because I was the only bodybuilder in town. But like, get real here.
A small town,
right?
Very small town.
The only young bodybuilder. I mean,
but you're good. You are good. I would argue you have genetics. No, I think that doesn't take away from your point, though.
I didn't have like instant genetics. There was a lot of like really, really, really hard grit training, and I still had body parts that were really lacking that took a long time to come up, and nothing came easy, and you know what I mean. So
there's a lot of stuff you have to do to really get that foundation, and it's important. So I'm not saying that a lot of the new school stuff isn't cool. It's great. I use some of it, and like I love a lot of the stuff that we're doing now to make things more efficient, but you should be able to do a lot of the stuff that you're not doing. So that's my thing.
What about you, Scott?
I'll say self-limiting beliefs. Now that I had a couple of minutes to think, I had longer than Ron, so I got to.
I like that you had that.
You know what I'm saying? It's self-limiting beliefs, and I'll use myself as an example that I didn't feel like I was strong on as a chest presser. I just wasn't a strong presser, and I lived like the majority of my bodybuilding like that. And it wasn't until I was hit my early 40s. So I decided, I'm like, you know what, no matter, like this might be my last chance to actually get legit strong as a chest presser. And I had to find some humility to literally like strip back my technique and relearn how to chest press. And through that process, I became legit strong. And that's like the other half of it is get freaking strong. Because that's what I said. It was like, you know what? I want to try to gain as much muscle as I can. And I've done everything I possibly could, but I've never been, the one thing I haven't been is the strongest guy in the room. I've been strong and I'm definitely like have grit and I'll keep up with you, but I hadn't been the strongest guy in the room. And I said, I need to become that guy in order to grow. And that's what I did. And I literally made the best progress in my freaking life in my 40s.
Yeah.
Like on low gear. It's not like in the past I'd been hitting all sorts of hard stuff. And at this point I was like 500, 600 test. I was eating like 5 meals a day and not even paying attention to it. I was like, take a tortilla, put some taco meat, put some ground turkey in it, roll it up and eat it. That was a meal. That was a meal. I got like 40 grams of protein, 30 grams of carbs. And I'm like, oh, I'll do that again in a couple hours. Like that was literally my diet. And I got to the strongest I'd ever been. And I made better progress in my growth than I ever had. It's like, so don't have those self-limiting beliefs that, we kind of put ourselves in a box, that I can't do this or I'm not that. What do you have to do to become that? That's kind of what bodybuilding is about is, we have all of these obstacles, all these things that hold us back. And then we have to get creative to figure out like, well, okay, how do I do it anyway?
Right. I always thought that was one of my favorite things that Dante did was obviously anybody who knows him well knows he's very, very, very intelligent, but then he breaks things down to such a simple thing that it always clicked to me. Cause like he told me when we first started, he said, my thought process is simple. If you can incline press 315 for 10 now, when you can do 405 for 10, you'll be bigger.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
a lot bigger.
Yeah.
So it's like when you start breaking it down that simply, it's like, I don't think anyone would argue. And even someone that goes, oh, well, some people are strong. Okay. Well, when he goes up a plate, he will be bigger. I mean, obviously we're keeping in that everything else is in there. My thing is something I experience with clients and people in general, which is consistency, but not in the lame way that everyone's so used to hearing. Consistency when life isn't cooperating. That's a thing I have a lot with people. I have a really good client that's moving. And he's like, look, I got to move. And so with that, I'm going to take a break on the coaching because I got to do this and this. And I said, okay, cool. I have to ask something. Are you going to go to the gym? Yeah. Are you planning on eating during the moving process? Yeah. Okay, I don't see why this would stop. Like if it's money, completely understand, but then keep doing what we were doing without me.
Right.
But that's the area where people mess up. It's like, I think that individuals think that like Jay Cutler was able to be so perfect because life never threw him a curveball. He never missed a flight. He never had any issues. Life was just easy. It's like what separates the people that get to their maximum potential and those who don't is when they can succeed during adversity. And I think people don't realize that adversity is a privilege. It is absolutely something there that makes you better. So when you look back, you start looking at your consistency. If when you're having problems with work or this or that, you're missing meals or you're not going to the gym or you're not getting sleep, that's on you. It doesn't take any talent. I drive it home all the time. Like you have to eat no matter what. if you've got a big job that has a lot of expectations, I think you should understand that if you die tomorrow, before you're in the ground, your job will have you replaced. So don't put them before what you're doing. You can stop for 10 minutes and eat a meal. You can be prepared so that when you're busy, you've got stuff. I used to always leave my house, and if I was going somewhere, there's with my wife or whatever, I'd go, how long are we going to be gone? She'd say 3 hours. I'd go, okay, I'm going to bring 2 meals in case we're gone 5 hours.
Yep.
Yes.
Like, just ready all the time. And I can say that in my peak, I literally never missed a meal, never missed anything because it wasn't an option. And I think that's the area where people mess up. It's easy to be consistent when everything's rolling, but ask yourself, does that consistency waver when things aren't good? And that right there could be enough to end your ability to hit the top level. Because if you're successful in life, there's adversity weekly.
Yeah.
There's a birthday party weekly. There's a trip weekly. There's something in your way, and you decide what you do with that. So
100%.
Pretty simple.
I think one thing to add to that particular point is that you should always expect an hour delay. With, like, as a bodybuilder, never expect everything to run to the minute and be perfect. You know what I mean? Like, I think a lot of bodybuilders, a lot of people, they just think like, you know, oh, it takes 11 minutes to get there, so I'll leave 11 minutes before I have to be there. And it's just a bad habit that they get into, and they're always stressed, and they're always under the gun, and they're always like, oh, I'll eat after this. And you have to give yourself that cushion because you're trying to accomplish a goal where you need to do these things. So, you know, if it takes 11 minutes to be there, you should be leaving 22 minutes before you have to be there or whatever. Like, you know what I mean? You should always be prepared for something to happen. And that's where you would take 2 meals instead of 1. You always have a shake in your car. Always, like, just, you have to cover these things. It's very important.
I used to, when I had the stores, because it was obviously based on customers. So you didn't really know. I mean, you could have a burst and be busy. So rather than have meals, I brought 5 meals with me all in one. I call it a trough, just like a serving thing. And I would just make sure before I left at the end of the day, it was empty. Because I
used to do that too.
Stop and eat a meal. So you just leave it sitting in the back cold. And all right, I got time for 6 bites. Oh, customer, walk forward. But I just always said, as long as this is gone, I got the 5 meals down between getting here at 10 and leaving at 8. We're fine.
Yeah, I used to do that at the bar too. You know what I mean? I put my night's worth of food in a container.
Yep.
And sometimes I'd have like 10 bites over the course of the whole night, and then I'd eat the rest of the trough while I was counting my money.
Yeah.
But it would all go down. You know?
Yep. Do not leave until it's gone. That's the rule.
Yeah. I make sure I always go home with an empty dish because I still had a meal to eat when I got home. You know?
There's a kid at the gym that actually the other day I was walking out and he had a bowl and it was full. And I just looked at him. I'm like, that's proper trough right there. And he just smiled. He knew exactly what I meant. I'm like, I see what you're doing. He's a natural kid plowing down. And I'm like, there you go. That's how you eat right there.
Yeah. I love it.
So I got another one that was asked on my question box today. I thought this was good. They say stereotypes exist for a reason. What are some of the thoughts that go through your head when you see people wearing specific brands, Gymshark, GASP, Young LA, Dark Sport, etc.? And I'm going to take it way further than he asked, but go ahead.
Skip wears T. Michael's sweatshirt still to this day.
Oh, I love it.
And he's bringing them back. You know, he's got like the boat net cut out of him. He's doing these videos. Yeah. He's like trying to get more into being like YouTube and Instagram and stuff. So he's doing videos about like, do you go to sleep and have carpal tunnel issues from your GH use? And he's like standing on his deck in Miami with the T. Michael's shirt on.
I almost bought a T. Michael off eBay a little while ago. Yeah. Like an OG T. Michael. It was like, because I had this tie-dye green T. Michael. And I saw that sweater, and I was like, "Oh, do I get this? It's even a XXX." Oh man,
you should.
Was it kind of the Batwing sweatshirt? You know, it was like really big under the armpits. I was like, "Oh man, I'd look so skinny in that now." I think it would just hang off me. I mean, shit. I mean, I don't really. I always never. I mean, I was sponsored by GASP 7 years, so I wore a lot of GASP. But that was back when I was 300 plus, right?
Yeah.
I don't really look at that stuff as much. I guess I do wonder why people. I was never a gallon jug guy.
Right.
Like the gallon jug to me was always like, that's like, do you what? That just looks
you
so.
drink that this whole workout?
Yeah, and it just, I don't know, the gallon jug thing I thought was like, that was one of the bodybuilding things that I thought was really, really meatheadish. And like,
I did that. I did it. But part of it too was like practicality, because I needed to have water with me at all times. And I just wanted to fill the thing up, so I just like fill the thing up and take it with me. Yeah. And then also, how much water did I drink? I just look at my hand. You know what I mean?
Right.
Look at my hand.
I was just had,
I would always just do gallon in.
I always had a water bottle with. I've always had a water bottle with me, but I never did the gallon jug. I just thought that was just so much.
I remember
the gallon jug.
One of my friends who later became a client, and he did a men's physique show. He worked for a competing soda company, competing pop company, and believe it or not, we were actually friends, and we still are to this day. He had to go to a Target to merchandise, and I'll tell you what. So sometimes there's a person in the store, at all the grocery stores and all these stores, called the receiver, and that person works in the back room. And they're the one all the merchandise that comes in or all the product that comes in, they are the ones who's responsible for checking it all in and anything that goes out. They're the receiver. And I'll tell you what, a lot of receivers have a little bit of a power trip going on. You know what I mean? Because like they're in charge of, this is their back room. That cart goes over there. You can't use it unless I tell you. This lady at this particular Target told him that he couldn't have food and beverages in the back room. And he's like getting ready for a show, and he's got to keep drinking water. I think we were like even loading water. I was like, well, Matt, we're going to be loading water eventually. This is 10 years ago. Like, Matt, we're going to be loading water eventually. So you can't be there for 2 hours, 3 hours without drinking something. He went to his doctor, and he got a note that said, Matt must be available to drink water at all times.
Got to know my mom.
Any human being.
Right.
Like Matt, any person with human rights.
Matt must have water available to him at all times.
That's so
handed
ridiculous,
it to the receiver.
Yeah.
My doctor
to the
receiver.
That lady, because I had my
That's
portable cooler, in any store I went into, I just walk in the store and park it in the back and with my stuff. And she was like, you can't have that. So I had to like walk it back out front. Matt got a doctor's note for his water.
I think one thing that I would be conscious of is, I mean, I always loved, when I was really big, I wore a lot of GASP and I loved it. I still think they make awesome clothing, really good quality stuff. But I never wanted to look like everybody else. I was always like, like I stopped buying Jordans because everybody else, like Jordans got super popular. So I kind of switched to like a different shoe. You know what I mean? Just like things like that. And I would always be like, if I had like a GASP hoodie on, I would wear like a different t-shirt because I didn't want to be too branded.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was always kind of conscious of not being like overwhelmingly always kind of like the same as every, I was just, just that sort of thing. So that was a kind of I sort of don't. And then I always admired like Cutler didn't do any bodybuilding brands. He was just Nike. You remember? Like Cutler would always wear Nike stuff. He never had bodybuilding clothes on. You'd see Cutler, he'd have Nike pants, Nike like dry fit shirt.
We had the Max
he was
Muscle
kind of
stuff
like that
at one point. He did, had the Max
Muscle but that was
stuff.
his friend Dave. Yeah. So I mean, he's supporting his buddy, but yeah, I don't know. I just had like that kind of awareness. I kind of wanted to like change it up enough.
Yeah. I think that the thing that the older generation, that it's funny to me that it bothers them, because when I read that question, I'm like, it bothers you. And I don't know why, because fads in clothing and all, like, I'm sure that flatlanders have a style, particularly the beginners. There's things that people do, or motocross or whatever. And I don't think there's anything wrong with wanting to identify with what you do, because I always laugh because the big thing is like, don't let people put you in a box. Put yourself in one.
Yeah. Yeah,
that's what we do. You know what I mean? We're like, I'm a bodybuilder, so I got to go down. I call it the douche list. Like, do I have the right hat? Do I have the right shirt? But the thing is in the beginning, that's just how it is. There's nothing. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care. To me, it's like I could really give a shit what you wear, and it's not until you get older and cheap that you start going, well, Target shirts are $7.
I wore that.
What I do.
I wore that. I wore that. I'd be fully Gators gymmed right out when I was young. Like, you know, the big baggy hammer pants, Gators gym sweatshirt, fanny pack, bandana. Like I was
all the thing.
Oh, that's crazy. I mean. Yeah. I look back at how I dressed, but I was like carrying the flag. I'd go to the mall to get something dressed like that, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was fun.
That's what I think is funny though, is that's something that we hammer on. Cause I'm like, you did the same thing, dude. You did the same thing.
I did that. I can't,
you know what I mean?
Can't fault these people.
So, and the one thing I'll give them is at least they're like, when I look at it, not all of it, but the majority, I'm like, it's good stuff. Like if I wasn't 43 years old, I'd probably be like, I'd wear that.
I feel like bodybuilding clothing and fashion has gotten a lot more advanced than it was
way better.
20 years ago. You know what I mean? We had like just terrible material 3X t-shirts and just like one size fits all pants. You know, it was awful. And now it's like everything's tailored and oh my God, the material. Like I have some Young LA shorts and like the material on them, you could tell it's like premium. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like premium material.
Oh,
yeah,
I know.
That's the funniest part is I look at them like all that is from the old guys is jealousy that our shit was so horrific. Yeah, and we had to wear purple and gray pants to be bodybuilders.
I can't exactly. I can't point a finger at anybody because we were wearing like neon pink tank tops underneath a purple rag top with just crazy shit. And
it's way worse.
I shake my head.
Plus, when I look at the young guys now in the gym, there's a couple in our gym that they dress it, and I watch them train, and I go, "Oh, you're a real bodybuilder. Like you're getting started, but you're a real bodybuilder, and it's awesome, you know."
Oh yeah.
So I always make sure to pull those ones aside, and I'm like, "You look awesome," and I mean, because a couple of them do, they look really good, and I'm like, "I was you, just in uglier clothes."
And that's another thing too is like I don't like the bagging on people saying they don't train hard. I think a lot of these young guys are training really, really friggin' hard. I might not, like I say, I might think they're focusing on doorknobs instead of concrete floors, but they're going hard.
They're focusing really hard on those doorknobs.
Yeah. Like they're
great
they're logging. There's a lot of logging at my gym. I see a lot of logging. There's a lot of logging going on, a lot of like max effort. You know, I got to get 6. I got 5 last week. I got to get 6. Like, I see a lot of it, so I'm not worried. No matter what they're wearing, there's muscle happening, so that's all I care about.
As long as I think just like us.
It all got more expensive though too. The fashion.
Like my God!
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you pay for that nice material and those. Yeah.
But I also had a bit of like I was one of those guys that I was a bodybuilding fashion guy, but I also had like the lumberjack shirt with the threads hanging off and also had like the dress down side of me too, to like not be too fancy.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
You want some more?
Next, Dusty? Yeah, you had all.
Yeah. What do you got? What else you got, man?
All right. This one I thought was cool. Aside from genetics, what made Ronnie Coleman and Jay Cutler so successful as bodybuilders?
They're very different if you think about it too. You know what I mean?
That's why it was great. That's why I like the comparison.
They are very different. So Scott mentioned it earlier, was self-limiting beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
And Ronnie Coleman Ronnie and Jay are different. Ronnie, it didn't even occur to Ronnie to doubt himself.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, it wasn't even like, I'll never forget, I asked Chad Nichols when I worked with Chad. We had a lot of phone calls that year and a half I worked with him. He's such a great guy. He's been on the show. For those of you that haven't seen the Chad Nichols episode, it's way back, but you go back and watch it. It's great. 2 of them. But I said, hey, when Ronnie won that first Olympia, like, he expecting to win? Like, did you? Huh?
Your voice went out for a minute. Go ahead.
Oh yeah. So I said, like, what was that like? Like, I mean, he couldn't have been expecting to win. I mean, he was like 9th place the year before, right? I mean, you knew what he looked like, and everyone else, some of the other guys saw his pictures and were like, holy, you know? And he said, yeah, we were sitting on the bed, and there's actually a photo of the moment. Ronnie's holding a pizza, and he's got a slice of pizza in his hand. They're sitting on the hotel bed. So there's a famous photo of the moment. And Chad said, in that photo, he's asking Ronnie, is there anything you did that I didn't tell you to do because I need to know?
Yeah.
Because, we just won the low. Like, you just blew everyone away. So if there's anything you did, if you ate something or skipped some cardio or did extra, you got to tell me now because it's going to matter.
It's part of the formula,
Ronnie,
basically.
It's part of the formula.
Yeah.
And Ronnie looked at me and goes, didn't even cross my mind.
To do anything you didn't say.
Yeah. So, like, it didn't occur to Ronnie to doubt Chad.
Yeah.
It didn't occur to Ronnie to question his coach. It didn't occur to Ronnie to look at the plan and go, well, scientifically, I don't know if I should be doing that cardio in the morning or twice a day, or if I should be eating my steak before bed, or I don't know, like, all that stuff was completely void from Ronnie's mind. Mm-hmm. He was like, plan from Chad, execute.
Yeah.
So extraordinarily coachable and no self-doubt even present at all in his brain.
Right.
And those are two major factors with Ronnie. And then with Jay, you just have very similar, but like obviously extremely coachable. He just did exactly what Chris told him to do. But Jay was, I mean, they say some people born winners or they're raised winners? I don't know. Mm-hmm. But Jay Jay set the goal. I'm going to beat Ronnie. And Chris told him, you're going to beat Ronnie. It might take a few years, but we're going to beat him. And so that self-doubt is a huge thing. And it was completely void in both of them in different ways. Mm-hmm. And they're both extremely coachable.
Yep. Agree with that.
You think Jay argued with Chris?
Yeah, never. What crosses your brain, Scott? I know you don't know them personally, but he's passing.
What's he doing?
Passing on this. You're muted.
He's got no sound.
Happening? We're going to keep going. He's going to figure it out.
Okay.
No, when I look at both of those two, I think that the biggest thing that I, from seeing them as a fan and then knowing them on a personal level later on, it was the fact that they understood the importance of each day. Neither of them were focused on the finish line. It was just one perfect day at a time. And I think that's where some of the doubt comes in with athletes is they're looking at the finish line. They're trying to figure out why their coach is changing things. Oh, Chad just changes. I must be too fat. Am I too fat? Am I too lean? What's happening? They just knew to execute each day to the highest of their ability. And I think that kind of goes back to that laying the perfect brick thing. If every day you lay the perfect brick, eventually there's a perfect wall. I think that most people focus on the wall from the very first brick, and that gets lost. Those two were very, very focused on every single day, and it played out. And from a young age, they had that ability to just go in there. And I would say one more thing that really jumps if you know them personally is they both loved bodybuilding.
And
it's
training.
all they wanted to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all they wanted to do was train hard, go in there, and they both would have been doing it if it wasn't their career. They just love to train.
Neither one of them, I don't think neither Jay nor Ronnie ever said, how can I do less work?
Right.
Do you know what I mean? How can I do less work? I don't think that ever crossed Ronnie or Jay's mind.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of guys out there, like, if you're Dorian Yates and you train 45 minutes 4 times a week and you have the physique to back it up, that's amazing. But my training partner, Braden, he put up a post the other day. He said, if you look like you hardly train, maybe it's because you hardly train. and we see a lot of that, you know? And I don't think, like, Jay was always finding ways to do more work. Jay was always, and I don't just mean more sets. I mean more work within the sets and more, you know, training heavier and loading more and going harder. And Ronnie was always trying to figure out a way to add plates to the bar. Jesus. And they were never thinking of the limiting factors first.
Yeah.
They were thinking of the possibilities first.
Yes.
Limiting factors. They only thought about limiting factors if they ran into a problem. Right? Like, oh, I'm not recovering. That would be when it's time to think of the limiting factors for a guy like Jay or Ronnie. But I mean, if everything was going good, they just kept working harder, trying to outwork themselves, constantly trying to outwork themselves. Jay was trying to find ways to make everything, you know, how can I get more in? How can I get more in, you know?
That's the thing, is you can't figure out where the line of too far is until you cross it. And I think that most people, like you said, Ron, they're looking for that line in the beginning. Like, the first thought when a lot of guys, and I think a lot of it's the information age, they walk in the gym, it's like, well, I don't want to do too much. And I'm thinking, I'd rather go too far than not far enough.
Yeah.
Because your body will tell you if you're going too far, if you know how to pay attention. Your coach will catch it, or if you're doing your own thing, you'll catch it. But too short, it's like, imagine you're seeing progress and you're like, see, I don't need more. And it's like, but you don't know what you're leaving on the table. So yeah, you're making progress, but could you be making more?
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. It was fun to me back in the day when you just went in the gym and tried to annihilate yourself. And then in time, you'd gain the experience to know that, okay, so those last 9 sets weren't necessary. Got it. we'll pull those out.
Right.
Let's see here.
I've got a bunch of good ones here too, just to throw it out there. Just to let you know, guys, we had a bunch of good ones, and there were some funny ones too. So when you're ready for those, let me know.
Okay. I want to jump on this one real quick because I think it's a big one, especially currently. Trends in fitness and bodybuilding, recent versus past. What are some of them? And then what will they all eventually have in common? So obviously currents would be the ice baths and the morning routine.
I thought you were talking about like Tren-E versus Tren-Ace.
No, those are
like fast acting. So Tren-E has a really long half-life by comparison. You don't need to take it nearly as many times per week.
I was just going to reminisce about how I once had 10 amps of paraballing. I was gonna tell my 90s story about my.
I enunciate better.
I obtained gold.
No. I hear what I want to hear sometimes.
Stark. It was in my hands. I had 10 of them.
Open up the box and gold comes.
Yeah, it's like the briefcase on Pulp Fiction. Just
yeah. Sorry, I just hear what I want to hear sometimes. You know,
I once too had a brush with greatness.
So trends with a D.
With a D. Trends with a D. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Trend dipropionate. That's trend with a D. Yeah.
I'm trying, guys. I'm trying.
Trends now. So I've never been. I think some people think Ron's old and jaded. And they're absolutely right. I'm old and jaded because I have seen so many things that were said to be the Holy Grail.
Oh yeah,
come and go, and I'm talking from vanadyl sulfate and boron, which may still have like a value, but they were like the next thing. Like, you're going to gain 15 pounds of muscle, and then they just slightly increase insulin sensitivity.
Yeah.
Right. Which can also be done by eating a certain way, or just training really hard, or, like all these things that, study shows Mannitol sulfate increase insulin sensitivity. But in a bodybuilder who trains like a maniac, his insulin sensitivity is like super high. So it's like, doesn't make a difference, right? So all this supplement stuff that came along, also too, like the ice baths, I was never on board with the ice baths. I was like, this seems like a whole lot. Like, are these guys going to all become the biggest guys we've ever seen? Like, people say, oh, it made a difference, but I'm like, did it make a difference? Like, you know what I mean? I think and now there's new studies out now saying not to do them, right? We've all seen this latest study, right? So studies show drops inflammation. And then a couple years later, after they sell, 5 million ice bath tanks and people open ice bath businesses, there's now studies saying it actually hurts hypertrophy. So it's like, geez, guys, like that's why I'm jaded when people make these big promises. I mean, I remember when the peptides first came out, like the original peptides, the CJC and the ipamorelin and stuff. Oh, this is going to replace growth hormone completely. No one's going to take GH anymore. What's everybody doing now?
You're taking growth.
Yeah, taking GH.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what a good one is? I thought of this the other day talking to someone else about this topic.
Not saying they don't work, but everyone.
No.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah,
you remember? Yeah. So here's one that I think you wouldn't have to be around for super long to get it. Is CBD. Do you remember? It wasn't that long ago that like you took CBD for everything. Oh, I have anxiety. Oh, you take CBD for that. I use CBD for my inflammation. I use CBD to do this. I do CBD to bring down my cholesterol. Like literally, CBD was like everybody was like taking.
Miracle, as you get to 100.
Yeah. It was finally the secret, and it was like in everything. Every store had it. Our gas stations were like CBD sold here. You know what I mean? It's like at the gas station. And look at it today. Like
I never bought it for a single second. I just went, what? Yep. People have been smoking weed their whole lives. Should have all these incredible markers of CBD consumption. They should have like no cancer, and they should have like no issue. No issue. Like, and it's just not the way things work. And of course that all went by. Haven't heard a single person mention CBD to me for like a couple years now. Does anyone even talk about it?
But I feel like a lot of our listeners, even if you hadn't been around for that long, you remember the CBD fad. Because it was. I think methylene blue is the new thing. Is that everybody is like, oh, you put methylene blue on that. And I do think there are some benefits. But Victoria showed me an article the other day that there may be some situations where it could be really harmful. So, it's interesting. I'm going to talk to Scott about that on an episode of Muscle Mind so we can kind of deep dive further into that. But yeah, anything too where it's like everybody's taking this thing for everything. You question that,
Yeah. Well, it was the same. Like, when I started, you guys, the big thing was your post-workout nutrition. It had to be like you get done with your set and hopefully your training partner is shaking the drink for you and then throwing it in your face because you can't miss your anabolic window. You won't recover.
As you're doing your last negative, you're guzzling it.
He's but that was the thing in the early 2000s. It was like, it was a fact. I had the stores. We would tell people like, no, listen, bring it in as soon as you're done training, shake it up, drink it in your car. Like it was this whole thing. And I remember it come to the point where people are like, well, what if I have to drive home and it's 15 minutes away? And we're like, I don't know, man.
I don't know.
Yeah. And then now as more information has come out, and I have to thank the macro community for doing the homework on all this. And they're like, yeah, as long as you eat all your food today, you're good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
there is benefit, but it's highly overblown,
you're thinking that if I do that, I'm going to put on 10 pounds I wouldn't have put on.
Yeah.
And then it's also completely contextual as to what your pre-workout meal was.
Sure.
Like if you had 2 cups of rice and 10 ounces of steak an hour before you train shoulders, that food is dripping into your system. for like 5 hours, 6 hours straight.
50 grams intra. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and you're drinking, 20 grams of EAAs while you're training. You're fine to drive home. You can even stop at the mall and pick up like some new headphones. You're going to be okay.
Like I think that the same happens in reverse though too, right? So we used to do branch chains during training. That was the thing. And then a couple studies came out that said, EAAs are better than branch chains. And the funniest thing is if you actually do a deep dive into them, branch trains while you train, the reason that Scivation came out with a product called Extend was because it extended your ability to train during the workout. So literally, I laugh because I'm the only person in the gym that drinks branch chains during training. That is when they're meant to work. And I laughed when all the studies came out because I'm like, all the old guys should be shaking their heads because we could remember when we started using it. You could tell, like your workout, your last set and your first set looked the same. You were like, okay, this shit works. And then a study comes out and it goes, throw it away. And I'm like, what?
And also, too, what's the difference between I currently drink the Gear just because I like to say Gear. But what's the difference like between drinking branch chains while you train?
Yeah.
And when you've eaten 10 ounces of steak an hour before, which is full of all the other EAAs.
Yeah.
Or drinking EAAs while you train. Like those, your bloodstream, if you're eating properly, is loaded with aminos. You're getting some extra density, like extra high concentration of aminos into your bloodstream. But in the EAAs are all three of the branch chains. And the leucine is still the more dominant of all of them. So I don't like... Yeah, my clients say, what should I do? I'm like, what do you like?
Yeah.
And it's hard because
as much as I hype on it, during legs, I can only drink water. Because anything that has like that coats my throat in any way makes me nauseous. So I drink water when I train legs. That's it. And sometimes back day, I'll be sipping on the branch chains. I'm like, this isn't going to work today. Put it down, grab my water. Now I'm drinking that now.
So one of the other...
I'm good.
Do you remember the trend of drinking a hydrolyzed casein with cyclic branch dextrin while you trained? I did it with Hollingshead one day for legs, and I puked my guts out. It's on video. It's a Mutant on a Mission we did. I mean, we had a hell of a workout, but that was the first time I ever tried to drink hydrolyzed casein.
Was it like Pepto Pro?
A whole bunch. Yeah, something like that. Hollingshead mixed it up for me. He's like, here, have this. And I remember I started drinking it while we were doing pendulum squats.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know about this. Because I'm a water on leg day with maybe like 10 grams of aminos in like a liter and a half of fluid, right?
Yeah.
Like it's like very see-through, super diluted, And I remember drinking that, and then we did some heavy-ass banded leg press with added weight. It was crazy workout. It's a Mutant on a Mission episode from King's Gym years ago. And then at the end of the episode, I go in the alley and I just projectile vomit all over the place. And obviously it was a hard workout, and I am the type of guy that has thrown up on leg day, but it was that crazy drink, man. It was the worst. And I know that Meadows was doing it. He was experimenting on himself because he was trying to maximize recovery.
Yeah.
And so, and that goes back to something on paper being great. Like the science says on paper, this should be awesome. And then you do it and you're like, fuck no. Dude, I'm puking everywhere.
At that time, so John was talking a lot to Shelby, and so I'm hearing what Shelby's doing, what John's doing. They were doing like 200 grams of carbs intra-workout. Like we're talking like gallon jugs. That's what I was doing too. But you had to build up to it, and man, that was expensive. Number one, that's a lot of freaking carbs, and you just hammer the insulin with it too.
Oh,
well, God. I think the other thing you got to factor in is that's back to what you were saying, Ron, in the beginning. When I'm a new lifter and I'm trying to figure out how to squat properly, just do it correctly, but I'm making sure I've got that perfect intra drink. It's like even if it is a great doorknob, we haven't put the walls up on the house yet, so let's not worry about it. Let's just pour that concrete and make sure it's nice and sturdy and flat, you know?
Quite often my clients will message me. I'll get them fired up on their plan.
Yeah.
And they'll message me and go, you haven't sent me anything about supplements. And I'm like, well, yeah, like, I mean, you're 165 pounds and you've never eaten properly. So get the steak, like Costco and a bottle of Test. I had a guy come up to me in Germany. He shook my hand. He goes, Costco and a bottle of Test.
Nice.
And I just laughed. And yeah, because, just like, let's just get you going properly. You've never done a proper split. You've never done a proper diet. Let's get you eating. I don't want you worrying about a whole bunch of shit or thinking it's overly important. We'll get that in later. Just take some fish oil, get a multi, get some good protein, get some creatine. That's all you need. Let's go.
Yep.
So another trend so I asked ChatGPT, because I've been talking to ChatGPT a lot. I'm on this kick.
Ron now has 3 friends.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have a new doctor, everyone. I have a new doctor. So I asked for a current list of bodybuilding trends that are hot now, but may not stand the test of time.
Oh, huh.
And it gave you
And
all of the
it
trends.
said, this is a list of things that are currently hot, but may fizzle out like many other trends have. I love how it talks. And it said, and the number one thing is optimal obsession.
Huh. Wow.
And it said chasing perfection with biomechanics, the length of the rep, resistance profiles, altering machines, machine-only training, strange exercises that isolate single muscles out of complex muscle groups.
Yeah.
All are already showing signs of fading. And it says why they might fade. And it says, all of this is based on theory, not enough brute force. Many forget that progressive overload is still driven by maximum mental effort and high physical drive. Overanalysis will lose steam once people hit plateaus despite being optimal.
Huh. I think I have a new friend too. I like this guy, this chat.
Yeah.
Sounds like something I've said 100 times.
Yeah. And then it said influencer-driven hypertrophy programs. And it says genetically elite influencers who have already built fantastic physiques using bread and butter bodybuilding techniques now selling optimal, overly complex workout routines to unsuspecting newbies.
That's amazing.
And
Even ChatGPT sees it scams.
As buyers become more educated, they may demand better science and less BS and require more transparency. And I had a dinner with my brother this weekend, and my brother is an infectious disease specialist with 3 medical degrees.
Ron's a disappointment.
And
go ahead.
Yeah, I'm absolutely the disappointment of the family. And I have also met doctors that have said, Partlow, do you have a relative, Eric Partlow? And I go, that's my brother. Wow. And I've had doctors look at me and say, he's the best doctor I've ever met. So my brother's very smart. And I had this conversation with my brother. I mentioned some studies, and he goes, oh man, the thing with studies is everything is constantly changing. Studies are done on different groups of people, different numbers of people, different parts of the population. There's all these variables in all these studies. I deal with this stuff with studies on medications, and you have to take this all with a grain of salt. Nothing beats experience. That's why people come to me who have seen 5 other doctors, and I look at their chart and I go, cancel all this. It's none of these things. I've seen this 5 times. It's this, and I'm right.
Victoria has said similar stuff.
Yes.
Literally a study is just one thing.
It's just
one moment at a time with one group of people.
It's
in a vacuum.
Great.
Yeah.
Put it in the pile of interesting information that could be useful.
Absolutely.
And yeah. And I said, wow. I said, bodybuilding is going through a lot of that right now. And he goes, oh, really? Like, he doesn't know anything about bodybuilding, right? And he said, yeah, that's always the battle in the medical community is the studies versus the practical actual experience of seeing things. And they just don't always line up.
Yeah.
And, you have to take it with a grain of salt, and it's interesting. So
I'll give you a funny doctor story, Ron. So I was prepping a guy that's a cancer doctor for so he gets done with his show, wins, he's nasty. About a week later, I get a text. He says, Dusty, the edema in my legs is out of control. He's like, I don't know what to do. I talked to a couple doctors. He said, we've done some Lasix, and it just won't go away. And I said, oh, Frank, you're dehydrated. Drink 3 gallons of water for 2 days. He texts me 2 days later. He goes, doctors are idiots. And I go, because you guys didn't walk backwards.
Well, you almost died because of that.
Yeah, you're not. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the doctors almost killed me because they didn't realize I was dehydrated, and that's why I was holding water, Scott.
Yeah.
So they started pumping me with diuretics, and it took an outside source that knew I was a bodybuilder to go, he needs more fluids.
I remember that.
2 gallons of water
I probably remember that better than you, actually.
I don't remember. I remember the story.
Yeah. I mean, I only heard secondhand, but
pummeled me with fluids, and then all the water went away.
Yeah.
And then they just knew, oh, he needs more fluids every day than anyone else.
Yeah.
Do you guys want to hear the final one that it gave you?
Yes, absolutely.
It said excessive data tracking.
Okay.
It said tracking your sets and reps is one thing, but trying to track RIR, sleep cycles, recovery scores, HRV, and many more small details daily. For many, the juice is simply not worth the squeeze. Simple logging of your big core movements is going to make a comeback because burnout from tracking those tiny little variables doesn't make any sense in the scope of a person living a normal day-to-day life.
We should just stop this podcast with just ChatGPT because I finally.
But this is what we've been saying.
Yeah, agreeing with
me.
You know what's funny, guys, is when 2020 happened, I had 5 gym memberships because I went to one gym for legs, I went one gym for back because I like their equipment, all these things. Well, then I went to Muscle Factory, and he had just bought it, so he had like very little equipment, and I was stuck there for like 7-8 months just training on barbells, pull-up bars, all this. And so we went in and just kind of like assessed what we had and figured out the workouts. And 7 months later, I looked at my physique and was like, how did I ever get away from this? I was bigger, stronger. Everything looked better because I didn't have any options. It was like, we have a back day. Well, there's a bar right there.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
Hey, and that's when Bumstead grew a back in a basement that year, you know?
Yep. Yeah, it's just funny because the overwhelming options make you think, get away from it. And I press to people all the time if they're doing their own training. I'm like, whatever thing is inconvenient you don't want to do is probably the most valuable.
I used to say that all the time.
Yeah.
You know, rowing off the floor is a pain in the ass. I mean, you got to lift the plates up to slide one more on, do all this shit. It's a pain in the ass. So why not just put on this machine over here and do a row? It's the same. No, it's not.
I can't count the number of leg workouts where I said, what do I not want to do the most? And I'd be like, I really don't want to do heavy. I really don't want to do heavy hack squats today. I'd be like, well, I better do them first and get them out of the way.
Yep.
Hey, we had a question that's literally just about this. He said, do you guys think that an exercise that you tend to be weaker on versus a stronger exercise could possibly be of greater benefit? Example, 15 plus plate leg presses for 10 to 12 versus just 2 to 3 plates for a squat for 10.
So you're comparing apples and oranges when you're comparing two different exercises because everybody's body is going to be biomechanically slightly different from exercise to exercise. So, you know, you might be really strong on the leg press because of the length of your femur and the length of your shin, but it doesn't necessarily mean that your quads are doing more than if you squat 3 plates. Do you know what I mean? Like you can't and it's the level of effort that matters. Like if you're going really hard, then they're both valuable exercises. So, and you will get stronger on your squat if you start prioritizing it and trying to progress on it. And maybe one of the reasons why your squat is so far behind your leg press is because you avoid squatting, or you don't, progressively think of your squat like that. Also, anyone who's leg pressing 15 plates, I'd say chances are you're not going to full depth, and you should probably take some plates off and reassess where your feet are on the platform and all that stuff. But that's a whole nother conversation. So
yeah,
you know what I mean?
I think you nailed it. Is you shouldn't avoid things just because you're weak at them, but you also shouldn't avoid things because you're strong at them either.
Yeah.
There's a value to things. And then I think the big thing is too, is paying attention to how you feel when you do a movement, because as much as I just told you that I think you should be doing rows off the ground, if you're not feeling your back the next day and someone watches your form and it looks good, then maybe it's not for you. You know what I mean? So it's definitely not one size fits all. I just had a conversation with a client that was like, I'm following your training, but I kind of want to do these other things. And he's just a hard lifter. And I'm like, throw my training away. Train hard. I don't care if you do none of it. Like, there's nothing I wrote that's magical. Now, as you progress, if I see a weakness starting to show, I'm going to ask you about the training you're doing, and I might pop something in that you have to do. But I don't need you to follow this like you're on a mission. You have no other options.
Yeah, just trying to help you structure a workout.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you don't like something, toss it. Like, I don't have a romantic involvement with any of these things. Like, bounce it out. So what else you got, Scott?
Yeah.
Oh, we got a bunch. What is something that competitors do on stage that you wish they didn't?
Oh, God.
Lip sync.
You don't like the lip syncing?
No. Or trying to talk. Like, they'll have a voiceover in their routine, and they'll like point to the crowd, and they'll be like,
I'll be back.
And they'll be like mouthing the words, or it'll be a quote from a movie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And but the sound system's always, it always sounds so shitty. You can't really hear what the person's saying. And I might recognize a movie quote, but if you don't know the movie quote, you don't know what he's doing.
Yeah.
And a lot of times the timing isn't right, and
no,
it's just a waste of time. Just go out there and pose. Right. It never works. It never works. Stop doing it. Stop doing it, please.
One thing that I laugh about is when people prep their front lat spread the same way they do their rear lat spread. So like they do the row and I can only see your front, and then they grab their hips and then they do the lat spread. And I'm like, that's actually part of the rear pose. There's a reason you're doing that on the rear shot, and on the front, it's not necessary.
Good point.
So
taking way too long.
It's just one of those things where you're like, that doesn't do anything,
Yeah. Yeah, I'll rush my clients when I work with them on the phone or somebody who's in person, especially the earlier guys who don't know as well. When you say taking too long, Ron, and they're trying to like set things up. And like the second if I try to rush them, like I don't tell them I'm going to do it, but we're running through the poses and I'll say, front double bicep, and they take their time and they set it up and they get those arms hit. And the second they said, okay, lat spread. And the second they hit lat spread, side chest, now they're starting to move quicker. They start snapping. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I also hate it. I hate it when people do their rear lat spread.
Yeah.
So they're standing with their back to the crowd and they bend way over forward.
Oh yeah.
Do like kind of the spread. Like, it's completely unnecessary. And you're sticking your butt out at me, which stop. And it just takes longer, and it's annoying, and it doesn't have to be done. Just watch Dorian do a lat spread and just do that. It's not hard.
Yeah.
Just go Christmas tree, triceps, lat spread. You don't have to bend over and do this big production and then stand up with your, it drives me crazy.
A simple one that is primarily beginners is looking at their feet.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, you don't know where your feet are? They're on the ground. Like, it's like they have to look down to see where they're at. And I'm like, you should know that just by being there.
If we're going to that level, Dusty, I'm going to add the bounce.
Yeah.
Where you get into the side chest and then you have to bounce it a couple times to kind of feel it. You know
what I'm talking
about? Don't get rid of the bounce. Get rid of the bounce. All right, let's rapid fire a few of these. I've got an important question here. Victoria thought this was hilarious. Ron has to drive cross country with one of the following people. Who does he pick? Victoria, who just took a triple dose of All In and is excited to explain her research. Dusty, who just got banned from the NHL center ice and has ravenous hunger. Aceto, whose client just finished second at the Olympia. Or Branch Warren.
These are amazing.
So Branch Warren, I like that.
Dusty just got banned from what?
From the NHL center ice and has ravenous hunger.
What's NHL center ice? Is that like a membership club or something? Is she, like,
you tell us, Dusty.
Basically, just assume I got banned from something that pisses me off.
Okay.
And I'm starving.
I thought maybe it was like you got like the good channels or something. I didn't know.
And let me tell you, I've been with Victoria when she's like, I hear her talk about her research all the time.
Oh,
she gets really excited.
5 days of estrogen progesterone ratios.
Here's the thing is that she's so passionate about it. You know what I'm saying? And
yeah.
So I listen though. And sometimes though I have told her too, I was like, you realize we just did that whole dog walk and I just listened to you. But sometimes she has to get it out though. You know what I mean? So I also respect that. She's an artist in a way, being a scientist.
Yeah, I don't need to be reminded of how stupid I am for 5 days. So she's out.
Aceto, whose client just finished second at the Olympia.
I think I'd want that ride.
Can we record that?
Very entertaining.
I just hit like live stream on the Instagram. I put my phone on the dash.
Yeah.
I get like 1 million hits. Yeah. That's funny. Or Branch. So Branch would just want to have a lot of beef jerky.
Yeah.
And water on hand, I think. And he might want to stop at a shooting range along the way.
That'd be cool.
And he probably wouldn't talk a lot.
I wouldn't talk at all.
No. Pull over. Maybe that.
I'm just wondering if he'd want to listen to country music. He might want country music.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh,
that could be a problem.
I think I'd probably pick Dusty. Our periods are already synced up.
We found that out earlier. Oh, man.
All right. Underrated or overrated bodyweight exercises?
Overrated.
Yeah, overrated.
I'm going with underrated.
Although, now I got to spin back a little bit. I might actually lean with you a little bit.
I mean, Scott, am I in prison?
Depends on how our ride went.
Yeah.
No, you know what? I think you are right, Scott, because there's not a lot of talk about them, which makes them underrated. Because, like the other day at the end of my chest workout, just for fun, I did close grip push-ups off the ground. I
saw that.
And I got like
I was very proud of you.
and I was like, this was awful. So, you know what? You're right, Scott. I'm changing my vote, and they're underrated.
So
I
did
a
doing
set of
planks.
bodyweight dips the other day. Oh, yeah.
I've been doing planks,
day,
right?
Every chest day. Yep.
And so I decided, I was like, well, what if I start just like doing push-ups too? I was like, all right, because I'm much weaker than I used to be. And I do 3 chest exercises. Third one is just bodyweight push-ups. 3 sets, as many as I can get. I just did them today before the show, and I got like 20.
RIR?
And then 15. And then 12. And I'm like, oh my God. It's a nice way to just finish my chest day off for where I'm at. It's freaking great,
I think that's too much fatigue. Too much fatigue.
You went too far. You're definitely not recovering.
Too far. Not gonna grow.
All right. How about this one? This could be like a whole topic, but craziest off season. Craziest off season you ever have. Love the stories from back in the day, getting insight to the experience with different coaches.
Like for our clients or for us?
Could be either.
Well, I know Ron. So Ron, let's talk about your time with Chad Nichols.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I know mine is easily the year I worked with Chad. I hit 330 pounds. And, I mean, what do you say about being 330 other than, wow, it was a lot. And I mean, I can't even imagine being that body weight again. You know what I mean?
Oh,
It was,
awful.
but I was like huge. Like I saw a picture of me with my family.
Yeah.
And how it just didn't even make sense. I was just like, and just how big my head was.
I was gonna say, were you smiling? You've got like a great big head, just smiling.
Yeah, eyes are shut, just sealed shut.
Saint Bernard Ron.
Yeah, big giant pumpkin head. Yeah, it was a lot, and it was fun to do, and like we said earlier in the podcast, you don't know what too far is until you've gone too far, and I mean, people are like, "Oh, wow, you must have been really fat," and I was like, "Well, I was definitely fatter. Like I had body fat on me for sure. I was bulked up." But like I said, in the first 10 days of my diet, I lost 21 pounds. So I went from like 330 to like 208 in like 10 or 308 in like 10 days. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Or 318, I mean. Was it 318? No, 308. Yeah.
Bet you felt better.
Minus 20. Oh, yeah. And then Chad's like, oh, yeah, that's just all that water. But, being full of water like that, that's pretty anabolic. Like he's like, you were in like a grow environment. I remember he would talk about like creating a maximum anabolic environment inside my body. And he's like, that's why we did it. And I was just like, holy shit. I was heavy and I was really strong too. I mean, ratio wise, I mean, you see kids on Instagram now that are moving like crazy weights because everyone's just, well, there's a drug factor there too.
Yeah.
Gas to the gills. But, I mean, I was on like a decent cycle, but it wasn't insane. I mean, I was doing like 1200 test, 500 EQ with like some good growth. I had some omnitrope pens. I was using a bit of good growth, but not like a ton. I think I was like 5 a day. And I was taking Anadrol. And I was just fucking huge. Like, and, I remember my legs were over 33 inches and I was squatting 5 plates, like, like routinely and doing stuff like that. Yeah. Barbell squatting 5 plates, So yeah, it was just heavy as shit. And, what a ride that was. Yeah. Big giant face.
What's funny is when I look back at those periods where in hindsight we say it was bigger than it needed to be, but I still think that at the end of the day, when you're beginning, and if you're not somebody who easily puts on body fat, I would rather the client gets too heavy than not heavy enough, because they're again, like, what are you leaving on the table by being too lean?
Yeah.
Your diet was, you still got shredded. Yes, you didn't need to do it again, but I think there's certain things that in hindsight, like a move like that earlier in your career, I think would have been very well worth it. And then later in your career, it's not as a necessity. And that's where things have kind of gotten ruined with social media is you're watching Keon in his off season and saying, well, that's what he's doing to be the best. It's like, well, that's what he's doing now to be the best.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he's a genetic freak, so it doesn't even apply. But I do think that those times were good because mine was the same. I mean, when I look back, I remember dreading eating after my second meal the next 4. It would be time to eat, and you're not hungry. You're full. And you're looking at an entire meal, and it's like, it's got to go down.
I was always nauseous.
Yeah. You spend and it's funny because you spend your whole off season uncomfortable. That's why I have a client that keeps telling me he's bloated. He's like, I'm bloated. I go, what do you mean by bloated? And then he answers, I go, you're full. That's not bloat. It's not gas in your stomach. You're full of food. You're uncomfortable, and that's the goal. So you're good. You know what I mean? But I think when you look at those, more people should lean into the eat more. I mean, I always go back to Dante, and he had a big push with Kevin Jordan. He got huge one year. I mean, enormous, huge when he was working with Chad. and everyone was like, he's so fat, he looks terrible. Then he came down to, I don't know if it's junior nationals or what, but he was nasty. He had put on like 20 pounds of tissue in a year, and he won the overall. And it's like, my data says that this worked really, really well.
My data.
Dusty's study says he put on 20 pounds of tissue in 1 year and was an experienced bodybuilder already. So I don't think he needed to do that every year after that. But for that year, I think it was really valuable. So I think more people that are serious about bodybuilding should consider getting really big and getting really strong and then dieting down.
And like you said, find the limit.
Yeah. The younger you are, the more valuable it is to push your weight up.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you know what I mean?
Yep.
So, yeah, man.
Agreed.
That was a lot.
Hey, if you guys are good with that, I feel like that's a great place to. We kind of came full circle, on the show here today.
Agreed.
For being out of practice and having all this time away, we did all right. We hadn't seen Ron in 2 weeks on the show.
I didn't even know if he was still on the show.
Well, we do have to take a minute, Dusty. We haven't been on since we got back from FIBO. So we should just take a minute to say hi to everybody that came by to say, like, we watched the podcast, and like, Lucas came by, like, of course, guys like Lucas that like repost our video all the time. So shout out to Lucas and guys like that we only get to see if we go to FIBO. Yeah. And, and these guys come by and they say, hey, last 5 minute crew. And you're like, oh, this is wild. You know what I mean? So definitely want to give a shout out to everyone that came
and hammer.
Yeah, the girls that came by. There's several amazing interactions with the female listeners that came by, and they got accents from different countries, and you're just like, it makes I tell people all the time, like, we see the number on the YouTube video going, but it's just a number. And then when we go to those places and we actually meet the people, you realize that that's like, it's actual real human beings watching the show. And, you meet a girl with a girl with a French accent who watches the show, and then a girl from Spain who watches the show, and then a German female listener comes by, and like, it's crazy. People from Sweden, and it's just nuts. So thanks to everyone who came by and talked to Dusty and I. Much appreciated.
I do have to share too, Scott, because I didn't tell you this yet. But Ron and I went down to the equipment hall. Yeah, and we did just like a guerrilla mutant on a mission of the equipment hall. Ooh! So we're going through the hall.
Oh, it's almost done.
And okay, cool. So we're going through, and we're just finding pieces, and I'm filming Ron, trying them. Maybe talking to the reps might come over and talk to us. Yeah. And I assume the whole time, this is what they're doing. So they're just walking up to everybody. And we dropped by the Jim Lyko booth, and we're trying some different stuff. And then what was the booth we went to next? Where they had the equipment that I like, the row and all that. What booth was that?
Was that the New Tech booth?
Yeah, we go by the New Tech booth next. And so I'm sitting there, and I'm kind of like filming and everything. And then a guy from across the way walks over to tell the guys at the New Tech booth. They're like, he kind of whispers by over here and go, because he's talking about Ronnie. He goes, he's famous. Make sure you cover anything he needs to know.
That's amazing.
I was dying. I'm like, this is so classic. And they were showing me some of the New Tech stuff, and the guy was like, oh, come check this out. And so I'm just doing it. I'm like, oh yeah, I like that. Then the owner comes over, and he immediately introduces me by first name, and I'm like, I just had no idea that anyone knew who we were. We were just kind of like doing our thing, and they gave us like in-depth breakdowns of all their machines. It was an awesome time.
Yeah,
I'm actually excited, even though it was very guerrilla style. I think people are going to love the videos because
I'm excited. I want to try
some really cool stuff, and I sold a bunch of it already, so we're good.
yeah. It was cool because like the one guy from New Tech. He was from Hong Kong. He's like a distributor from Hong Kong, and he's got some gyms. Yeah. And I think his name was Brian. And
yep.
And I said, "Oh, I'm Ron." And he goes, "Oh, I know." He goes, "You're welcome to come to my gyms anytime."
That's so cool, man.
And I was like, "Oh, that's awesome, man!" Like, it was pretty cool. Yeah.
Well, listen,
it was pretty cool. And
I've got something to add here. Check this number out. So this is not including the audio podcast listeners, but in the last 28 days at the YouTube channel in total, we are almost cracking 200,000 views in the last month alone for the entire channel. So that's everything. Awesome. But yeah, so figure that on top of the audio listens, we get maybe between 10 to 15,000 a week there. I mean, it's pretty freaking incredible, man. The amount of people that we're reaching. I'm trying to push this up. I want to see 200,000 views in 28 days. You know, it's it's exciting, man. It's exciting because you know what too? It's not just 200,000 likes of an Instagram post or, you know, somebody scrolled past a picture or a reel and hit like. These are people that are spending anywhere from 22 to 30 minutes, if not an entire hour with us, you know, and that's a freaking lot of people. I don't know how many minutes that is, but that's a lot.
Dusty and I went by one booth where we tried out a bunch of equipment, and it was a brand that I had always considered kind of a fitness brand.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And we went by their booth. It was where we did the leg extension and
that was
the bicep
a great
curl.
extension. Yep.
And I saw their upgrades. I was like, your strength stuff is different. And he goes, yeah. He goes, we are stepping up the strength. Like, and I was I would put this in my gym. Like, so some of these fitness brands are realizing like the demand for real bodybuilding equipment is come up. Like they're making a pendulum now, and I tried out the pendulum, and then he said it's very heavy, and I said, yeah, Dusty, you know, he's like a 6-7 plate pendulum guy, and he looks at him and goes, no way, like he just blew his mind, right? And he had no idea who we were, but he quickly caught on. Like when he was showing us the extension, I started talking. They have a thing where you can flip a lever and the back drops flat.
Oh wow.
So you could lay back and do extensions, right? No one else has that.
Wow. Yeah.
And awesome. I was like, I really like this extension. Like this is not the fitness brand I thought it was.
Yeah.
And anyways, we left. He goes, oh, you guys really seem to know your stuff, obviously. You know, like he was just talking to us. We leave. And the next day, I didn't tell Dusty this, but I got a message from him in my Instagram. He goes, oh, damn, I had no idea who you guys were. He goes, let me know if you need anything. He goes, I can have like, and I said, oh, I already have a great rep with your brand. And he's like, yeah, very good to meet you guys. Like it was funny.
That was funny.
That's cool.
I had no idea who you guys were. Like if you want to, you know, next year come and see me. Like he was cool. So,
and he was great when he didn't know us. So that
he was great anyways. Right. But yeah, it was funny, you know, cause that hall is so huge. And you think like, they care about the guys. Like guys are showing up here. Like guys are coming from China, and they're like, "I'm opening 100 gyms."
Right.
Yeah.
Like, those are the
900.
Those are the people that. Like those are the guys that they really want to meet, right? So it's like they're not giving a shit about two meatheads with cut off T-shirts walking through there, right? But it was cool that they knew us. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Anyways,
man.
great time at FIBO again, and Scott, we petitioned for you to be there again next year, and. The people also spoke. We made sure that George heard a lot of. We made sure that George heard some of the people say, "Where's Scott?"
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. But nonetheless, I was hanging.
Disappointment.
I was holding it down in the background over here. I'll tell you what. I would be as cool as FIBO is. I'm hoping something happens with the UK. I would like to be there because that's where I feel like my, you know, our channel is kind of split between US, UK. I don't know who, you know, percentage wise, we might even have more people, percentage of human beings like per capita that listen to the show in the UK than in the US because there are so many more people in the US. Obviously, numbers are bigger here, but are they? Okay.
They're doing the Arnold again next year, so we will be there.
That's it's like I've only been to the UK once for Fit Expo. They brought me out to do the podcast there a few years ago now, but I feel like that's like my second home. So hopefully Mutant will want to bring me out for that.
My first trip there, I showed up to the booth, and this was, I mean, I don't think I was a pro yet. I mean, I had my YouTube and everything going. And I got there, I show up about an hour and a half after everybody else, and I put my stuff down in the back, and the owner of iForce goes, hey, you got some people. And they had like an area for me. So I'm thinking there's going to be like two guys standing there.
Yeah.
And I turn around, there's a line.
Holy crap.
And that's when I realized, I was like, the UK is a different thing.
Yeah.
I mean, there were 30 people standing there, and I was like, oh, are they waiting for, like, I was so thrown off because I'd never had that before. And I'm like,
You're like, where's Jose?
This is a different, that was before he was even there. I was like, this is a different place. I mean, bodybuilding is so hardcore there.
Yeah.
And it was a very immediate eye opener that it was a different planet. Like, I was like,
and that's why they connect to our shows, you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
So it was a great trip.
That's cool. I'm glad you guys had a good time. I missed being there, but it was cool to see your pictures and stuff. I can't wait to see that Mutant on a mission. That'll be good.
Yeah. So it's there's not a whole lot of content, but it gives a good view. Like the people who don't know what the equipment hall will look like, we tried to get some good pan. And then I tried out some machines, and Dusty tried out some machines. I'm slapping it together on iMovie right now, but I'm kind of amateur. But
you're doing it. Okay, cool.
When I'm done, I'll I don't know what we're gonna do with it. Dusty intended something, but I will send it over and
we're gonna throw it up on this.
Throw it on the channel, and
hey, that'd be awesome.
It was
cool. It was an hour and a half, Scott, and we were hurrying. That's how big it is. It took us
we saw like
an hour and
10%
a half to walk it, and we were rushing.
Oh,
it was like, okay, we need to get back. I mean, we could have been there for 4 hours easily.
I'm sure.
Easily.
But just to give people an idea, right? Like, people have been to the Arnold and the Olympia, and they think they know what the supplement expo looks like, but the equipment hall is like a car show. These booths are worth millions of dollars.
Yeah, it's like entire gyms.
They're dropping 4,000 square foot gyms on the floor.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, there was easily, $2.5 million worth of equipment at the Gym 80 booth.
Oh, yeah. Well, then I told somebody, they were asking me how big it was. And I said, have you ever been in a Costco? And they were like, yeah. I said, okay, 3 of those.
Yeah.
That's the equipment hall.
Yeah.
One of them.
Yeah.
There's a multiple.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. We only hit 3 of the halls of the equipment, so it was obscene.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Okay, everyone. Remember, like, share, subscribe, comment, and
ring the bell.
Okay. And remember, IamMutant.com. Use the codes Dusty and Big Ron. Get on there and get your discount. We order through the website and use the codes. It really helps us out, and you will be shocked at how fast you get your product. It'll arrive like immediately. Like someone will knock on your door in 5 minutes and punch you in the face with it.
It'll be Ron
on the top.
Ron, unless you're in the U.S., then Dusty will deliver it.
Yeah, Dusty will deliver it. Yes,
every time.
And everyone should get on the gear. So get to that. Okay, thanks everybody. Remember, it's just bodybuilding.